Hey guys, it's Denise Donahue, the Mortgage Nerd. Today we're going to talk about owning versus renting. And I know everybody says, don't rent, it's throwing money away, you should own, but nobody really supports those words with numbers, and that's what I want to do for you now. So I put together a presentation that allows us to analyze essentially rent versus owning. And so what I'm looking at here is if we're looking at a $2,200 a month rent payment, that equivalently, it's about 2,122, could get you a purchase price of 390,000 on a home. And so what's the true benefit of owning versus renting? Well, that's why I look at this chart here. This chart allows us to analyze the two options, and we fast forward you 60 months or 5 years, and it tells us the brutal, honest truth behind the numbers on what it looks like. So in this calculator, we'll see that the total amount of rent that you would spend is actually $132,000. The total amount in the mortgage payments is $127,000. So, okay, a little bit cheaper, but not enough to really sway me to want to own. Well, look at this. A portion of your mortgage payment goes towards principal, and the principal is kind of like a built-in savings account when you own a home. That money you get back when you go to sell your house because you've been paying down the amount that you've borrowed. So every single month when you make a principal payment, in this example, over 5 years, you would have paid into $27,000. Now you'll get that back, whereas with rent, none of it, your total payment goes toward your landlord. You don't get any of that money back. So now we're talking about $5,000 cheaper, and then $27,000 of it going towards principal. That's benefit number one. Benefit number two is the tax write-off. So every single year when owning a home, you pay interest, but you get a form at the end of the year that's called your 1098, and it's the interest that you paid, and you actually get to write off your mortgage interest. So that's a tax benefit that you get that you don't get when you rent. So look at this. In this example, looking at a 5-year time period, you would get to write off another $16,000 in interest that you wouldn't be able to do when you rent. So benefit one is the $27,000 in principal that you get back. Benefit number two is the $16,000. So right now we're looking at 27 plus 16. That's a total of about $43,000. That's a lot of money in 5 years. I'd be willing to own for that. Well, there's a third savings account. The third savings account is the appreciation of that home in value. So it's kind of like saying if I buy this iPhone and the phone is $1,000 today, and in 4 years I want to sell it, and let's just say, this never happens with Apple, but let's say I could sell my phone for a $500 profit and sell it for $1,500. My total appreciation in the phone was $500 because I paid $1,000 and I sold it for $1,500. It's the same thing in real estate. If you buy a house at, let's say, $400,000 and you have a 4% appreciation, which is a modest appreciation, then you would have made $16,000 in 1 year. Well, if you multiply $16,000 times 5, that's total appreciation of $80,000. So bucket one saves us $27,000. Bucket two, the tax benefit, saves us $16,000. Bucket three is your home appreciation. That saves us $80,000. You add those three buckets up, and in 5 years, you would have accumulated $123,000 that you would not have done with renting, because this total 132 doesn't appreciate, you don't get a portion back in your principal, and you don't get a tax benefit. So think about $123,000. Right now, a lot of our first-time home buyers have student loans. You could probably pay off some student loans with that kind of accumulation. And then the second question is usually, well, Denise, I don't have money for a down payment. I just graduated, or I've been paying off debt. There's several loans that are 0% down. There's grant loans that can help with assistance. There's 3% down and 3.5% down. You can borrow from a 401k or from a parent. Tell your parents you'll borrow it, and when you sell the house in 5 years, you'll pay them back. It's good. Owning a home, they say, creates 45 times the wealth than renting. The sooner you can get started, the more wealth you will accumulate for yourself. So if you have questions, you know how to get a hold of me, www.themortgagenerd.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to answering any questions you have. Take care.